So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining our Policy Committee meeting. This meeting is being recorded. The documents which will be discussed here today are available on the event calendar, which is on our website, which is wmc.wa.gov. I am Amelia Boyd, and I am the Program Manager for the Medical Commission. I, along with Kayla Bryson, are the organizers for this meeting. Panelists, please make sure your line is muted if you are not speaking. Dr. Karen Domino is the chair for this Policy Committee meeting. Once a presentation is finished, Dr. Domino will open the floor for committee and public discussion. For those of you joining us via the GoToWebinar platform and would like to ask a question or speak, please use the raise your hand function or the question section. Please refrain from making inappropriate comments or you will be removed from the meeting. With that, I will hand it over to Dr. Domino.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining the meeting. I guess we have 4 policy items which we will be discussing today, 2 of which seem quite short. So Mike, do you want to share the screen and discuss the first item? The first item is called Practitioners Exhibiting Disruptive Behavior. We had visited this before, but Mike reworked it after our previous suggestions, and it has made substantial changes. So Mike, why don't you take it from here?
Yes, and I am unable to share my screen. I'm having technical difficulties. My work laptop is not working. I'm using my personal laptop, and there are no documents on my personal laptop. These documents aren't there. So Amelia, maybe if you could do that. I'll start with the disruptive physician guideline, which I reworked quite a bit, had some help from Dr. Bundy, especially reworking the paragraph on a potential impairment. One thing that we talked about at the last meeting was whether we needed to keep that list of examples of disruptive behavior, and I believe it was the consensus of the group that we didn't need the list. You'll notice in the new version, the list is there. It's in Appendix A, and the reason I'm bringing it back, putting it in an appendix, is that I went back and read the Court of Appeals published decision in the Naravetla case, which I included in the packet. I hope you all had a chance to take a look at that. That is a really significant decision because, at least in my opinion, this is the Court of Appeals quoting from the Medical Commission policy, which I have never seen before, but there it is. So they are giving a thumbs up to the Medical Commission's policy, number 1, and talking about the examples that we had in our current policy, and giving implicit approval to the Medical Commission's definition of disruptive behavior, and not directly addressing the issue of whether, well, let me back up. It's an issue of whether at a hearing you can even introduce a Medical Commission policy as evidence of the standard of care. This was done in this case, and the Court of Appeals seems to approve of it, although it wasn't specifically raised by the respondent on appeal. So this is a significant case since they expressed some enthusiasm for the Commission's use of examples of abusive behavior, disruptive behavior rather. I thought it's important to have it in there, and so I stuck it in an appendix. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Mike, is it clear in the appendix that this is a list of examples and that it is not an all-inclusive list? Because I think we need to be fairly clear that these are examples, but it's not an all-inclusive list.
You're right. That's not there. I can stick it in.
Yeah, because you use the word examples in the text, but it would be nice to have it on the top of the table of the appendix things. examples, you know, not inclusive, some examples of, you know, I don't know if you guys have other language to put there, but I thought it would need maybe a title at the top of the table. It just says Appendix A. Anyone have suggestions of the wording of that?
Yeah, it could be like aggressive behaviors include.
But are not necessarily limited to.
Right, has to have that last part. It's got to have that last part.
And this is, I like this one a lot better, Mike. I think you did a great job on this. And I like these examples a lot better. I think I was getting hung up on some of the examples that were in there previously. I think these are much better set. And kudos for getting quoted by the Court of Appeals. It's always an accomplishment whenever a court of record adopts your language. I think that's, you can't understate that achievement.
Mike, I have one other suggestion. It's on page 2 of 5 of this document at the very top of the page. And it says disruptive behavior may be a sign of illness or a condition that may affect clinical performance. Studies have shown that physicians demonstrating disruptive behavior. Shouldn't that read, studies have shown that some physicians exhibiting disruptive behavior have been diagnosed, as opposed to this implies that all of them have been.
Yeah, fair point. I'll make that change.
Any other suggestions for changes?
What a fantastic job. Really well done, Mike.
We do have a question. Kyle
Um,
has his hand up.
Yeah, if you could do it. I can't see who all is on here unless I turn the webcam off. I don't even see Kyle.
Well, he's an attendee, so
Oh, okay.
I just unmuted him.
Hey, Amelia. Actually, Rick has a question, and we were wrestling with how to raise our hand and get noticed. So
Okay.
if you can, Rick is the person with the actual question.
Well, I can unmute him. Looks like he's
Oh,
on the phone.
sorry,
Rick?
Hi, everyone. I was just getting prepared for the next topic, the panel composition procedure.
Oh,
But good job on this, Mike.
Does anyone else have any other comments, changes, suggestions for this? Well, thanks, Mike. Thanks, Dr. Bundy, for helping as well. Oh, Alan, you have a comment?
No, but if we need to move to approve this and send it on to the regular commission meeting, I move to do so.
Yeah.
With the changes,
There aren't any other-
that we.
Yeah, and no other comments, right? Discussion. Okay, Alan, go ahead.
I would move that we send this with the proposed changes to the full commission for approval.
Second.
Great. All in favor? I'll vote. Anyone against this? Okay. So Mike, you'll make the 2 changes and put them in red and have them available for tomorrow. Is that correct?
Yes, I will.
Send it tonight to them?
Yep.
Okay, next. Panel composition. We had
Okay.
why don't you lead it off, Mike, and say what you did?
Okay, this is a document that is designed to help the staff members who have to get panels together to know who can sit on what panel and who can't and who shouldn't but may. So this document was probably a little too rigid. It was a product of its time. I met with the legal unit last week, and we made some changes. I emailed every member of this committee about an hour ago, the new document. Did anybody not receive it?
Oh, I just printed out the one that was there yesterday, I think.
Okay. There's a newer
That's it.
version.
Yeah.
That's the one I have on the screen is the one you emailed.
Mike, the newer version is great, but there's several things in there that need some wording to be looked at.
Okay.
Right.
Oh,
sorry. Go ahead.
I don't know if, I'm not sure if now is the time to do it, because I actually have several, 4 or 5 things that I wanted to bring up. And what that means is we won't be able to approve it necessarily, but you know, I'm not sure, do you want to, I'm not sure everybody's had a chance to read this, and is it best to have this brought back at the next meeting and get input from us, or do we want to talk about it now?
well, it seems I don't know if the changes made from the one sent out yesterday are substantial. And Alden, if you have substantial concerns, then it's maybe good to hear it within this committee. And then Mike can continue to work on this and not have to bring it to the regular.
Well, I think the changes are significant, but I like them a lot. A lot of my the changes that I make are things like, you know, you have, we don't have a chairperson on the CMT, and yet it says the chairperson must be a regular member of the commission. At least I've never heard a CMT person being designated as a chair. And there's little stuff like that that goes throughout. In the previous version, it said that a pro tem couldn't vote. In the current version, it says that the pro tem can vote. You have a thing that says about the meeting can be by phone or in person. Well, it should be electronically or in person. You know, just a lot of little stuff like that that's in there. But for the most part, it's an improvement over what we had to look at.
Yeah. Do others have suggestions on that? Alden, those all seem like good suggestions.
This is Melanie. I have a couple of things. Mike, under the hearing on a statement of charges, should we also make a reference to those times when we've delegated that to a health law judge? There's nothing in there at all about that. It sounds like every panel has to have commissioners on it, and under the delegation, that isn't always true.
Good point. Didn't think about that.
The other thing that I've noticed is you use the word must and shall, and then at the end you say the chair has the discretion. This is a guideline, and the chair has the discretion to change it. So should those musts not be musts if the chair has the discretion?
Yeah, it musts really only apply in rare cases, but there's a lot of musts here.
I know, and we are really, we're musting ourselves out of hearing panels. And so, you know, it should include, and the other thing in here, you have that the pro tems have to have been on for a year and that they're going to get training. And I don't know what the rationale is behind the 1 year service period. Maybe that was from the old policy. I don't know.
Well, everything here is up for debate. I think the 1 year came from the idea that somebody who's brand new to the commission has not been to more than a couple meetings and doesn't quite have everything straight, probably should not be on a hearing panel. Quick history, some of this came about because of a couple hearings that ended up with results that really bothered the majority of the commission, and it was done by people who weren't on the commission very long. That's in the past. Maybe this is too cautious, too careful, too rigid, but we don't have to have a 1 year rule, but that's the reason for the 1 year rule. So you have people with a minimum amount of experience.
So
Well,
now we do require all commissioners, pro tems, full commissioners to attend orientation, and the orientation is fairly robust and will be more robust in the future. So they have to attend that orientation before they can even receive a case to review. So I think that might cover some of that. There is a legal and a hearing piece to that orientation. So.
Well, the other thing is that if you change these to should and not must, and there's discretion of the chair, that might get us out of tight binds and still keep us from getting into trouble.
And Rick has his hand up again, but your line's still unmuted, Rick.
Oh, sorry. Just to address Dr. Roberts' point about having a chair or a panel chair during CMT, I think that comes up on the rare occasions when we want to get an agreed order pushed through because we think the respondent's kind of squirrely and he might withdraw. And in that case, we do ask one of you folks to be the panel chair to sign the document for us.
But don't we then convene as a panel as opposed to a CMT?
I mean, it's kind of apples to apples. I mean, it's 3 or more commissioners. That's what is required.
Right, but I guess part of what I'm concerned about is if anybody was to challenge us, you opened a case on me and you don't have a chair, I don't know that anybody knows how we do things, but we don't have a standard chair that we designate for CMT. I thought when we did an agreed order or any of those things which have disciplinary actions associated with them, that we convene as a panel. We cease to function as a CMT and function as a panel. And Heather, maybe you know the answer to that.
And aren't we calling it an eCMT now? So it's a separate.
So this is Heather. Anytime you have 3 or more people who are making a decision, it is, according to the law, a panel. So even what you're calling as a CMT is a panel of the commission who's been given the authority by the statute of 3 or more to make a decision on behalf of the commission. So it's sort of it's just I guess a label. And I think anybody on a panel or CMT panel or whatever you want to call it can sign for that group of 3 or more. So so there's no like formality of needing to change. Okay, now we're CMT. Now we're a charging panel or just your group can do those. A group of 3 or more can do all of those things.
Do we
I had
need
the
to
same comment
designate?
on CMT, but whenever we need a signature, it's like who wants to do it? So it's a volunteer activity, not a designated chair duty. So anyway, I'm for removing number 2 in that identification of who's on the panel.
The chairperson, is that what you're talking about?
The chairperson, right?
Anyone have any objections to removing the chairperson? It's part of it?
Is this for
yeah.
panels in general, or I'm sorry,
Only CMT.
Only CMT.
oh, only for the CMT. Okay, got it. No objection.
This is Heather. I had one other, I had a comment just not related to what you were just discussing, a new one that I raised with Mike as well, and he asked me to bring up, was on the bottom of page 2 in number 12, and then in footnote number 3, it talks about a commission member needing to have approval by the executive committee to serve on a hearing panel. I don't know that that's done, and I'm not sure that we want to have the executive committee making those sorts of decisions or doing approvals on behalf of the commission. That's going to then open up the exec committee to having to do open meetings, which I don't think is something that we wanted to do. So I don't know that there needs to be an approval, but maybe you just say that they need to have, finish the training whenever possible. That extra step just seems to me not to be known.
I
That's the old
agree, Heather.
version?
I don't. No, it's in the new version, but I agree, Heather, that I don't, as an executive committee, we've never done that. So
Well, and I don't want to be accused of the exec committee cherry picking the hearing panel, because I know in one case where we all got sued, had that been the case, that would have been worse.
So do you want to take this provision out completely? Any reason for it? Okay.
If you wanted to leave 12 and just end the sentence after complete a commission training program and then period, and then just get rid of the rest.
As well
you
as
may want to leave.
it also, I see it in the bottom.
And then remove the footnote. Yep.
Footnote.
So it looks like Yanling has her hand up, so I'm going to
Sorry, yeah, I
unmute
can't
her.
see anyone. So, I mean, I see 10 people, but I don't see some of them. So,
Yanling, did you have your hand up? Oh, she took her hand down.
any other comments or suggestions?
It looks like Ariel has her hand up.
Ariel.
I do. There was a concern about the pro tem members having to have served a year for the, it's just on the motion for summary action and show cause hearing panels. We really tried to open this up for pro tem members. It was very limiting throughout the whole procedure. But for the summary action panel and the show cause panel, it seemed that the language there was very odd. It required, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it required that if a pro tem member was going to serve on a summary action panel or a show cause panel, that they have been a regular member of the commission previously, and then I think also had served a year of pro tem time, something like that. So it was incredibly restrictive. Basically, I think only Dr. Hopkins would have been eligible to serve on a summary action panel or a show cause panel. So this, but this, at least if they've been on the commission for a year, they will maybe have been exposed to what a summary action actually is. And so, not all of the pro tems attend meetings regularly and know what that is. And so that's why that requirement is there.
Historically, a lot of our pro tems were commissioners that had finished both of their 4-year terms. So they had been on the commission as a regular commissioner for 8 years, but they may not have served as a pro tem. And this is specific. It says 1 year as a pro tem. So that you might want to take that out because Dr. Hopkins would not meet this requirement if it was his first year of being a pro tem. So
yeah, perhaps it should just say 1 year as a commission member.
Or pro tem, maybe, on the commission as a regular or pro tem member.
That's a good point.
Any other?
Well, Mike, did you get the under case reviews, the second sentence? It says this panel, this includes a panel that convenes by phone or in person. It probably should read electronically or in person.
Ah, right.
And if it's a fiber optic network, what should we add photonically?
Any other suggestions?
I think we just missed a jewel from Dr. Roberts.
It wasn't worth.
Yeah.
So I will make all these changes, and then between now and the next meeting, if anybody has additional feedback, send it to me. I'll bring back another version next month.
Great, Mike. Thanks so much. All right. The next one is self-treatment or treatment of immediate family members.
Yeah, this is a fairly old one that hasn't changed much since 2013. It's up for 4-year review. In looking at it, I myself didn't see anything that needed to be updated other than the reference to the AMA policy, which this is almost a complete copy of. They just the AMA revamped their code of ethics, so I changed the footnote to reflect that. But does anybody see any reason to add, delete, or modify this?
I thought it looked fine.
I thought it looked fine, and it's really interesting to see what is the only thing that's actually prohibited is prescribing to yourself.
Any other comments about this? Do we have a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Alden, second. Good. All in favor? I'll say. Anyone opposed? Nope. Okay, we'll bring that tomorrow. And then the last one is completion of death certificates by physicians and physician assistants.
This is also up for the regular 4-year review. 4 years ago, we had, or more than 4 years ago, we had an extensive, detailed guideline on how to complete death certificates. As soon as that came out, the department came out with its own version. And so in 2017, the commission said, let's just go with the department's version. It's fine. It's almost the same as the commission's version anyway. So you can see why this is so short. We kept it, but decided to just make a quick reference to the department's guidelines, which are quite good. I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at them, but I didn't see any reason for us to update our guidelines.
Agreed,
Anyone
Michael. Thank you.
Comments?
I agree with Michael. The departments are quite good.
Yes, and you know, I looked through it, maybe I missed it, but there isn't a specific time frame for completion of the death certificate. And the only reason why I bring it up is not oftentimes, we've had a number of complaints in the past that docs have not timely completed the death certificate, and it causes harm to the family and so forth. So, and maybe they purposely did not put a specific time frame in there, but
I think in some respects it would be difficult to put a specific time frame. If I'm on vacation, if I work a shift work and so I'm not around during the daytime for a while, or any of a variety of reasons why I might not get notified, I would be cautious about putting a time frame in. Perhaps if we just said in a timely fashion, that would be adequate, but a specific time frame makes me a little bit nervous.
yeah. I don't recall anything other than maybe the term reasonable was used. I don't recall. I read it, the whole thing, looking for some timeliness in completion, but I didn't see anything. And again, I only bring it up because we've had complaints before of docs disappearing or docs just not getting around to it, and it causes difficulties for the family when they're trying to conclude funeral issues, estate issues, and so forth.
Yeah, John, you're absolutely correct. And I don't see anything in here. I'm going over it again, and I don't see anything in here. I do sort of feel as though we should, at some fashion or other, say it should be done in a timely fashion, because that has been a source of complaints. That's a good point, John.
The Department of Health
Actually, page
version.
1. Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
The Department of Health one, page 2 says this must be done in a timely manner under recommendation.
That's
Okay,
good.
that
Good.
covers everything then.
And this is Heather. It also, on page 1 in the longest paragraph says the medical certifier then has 2 business days to certify the cause of death according to his or her best knowledge and sign and electronically approve the certificate unless there's good cause for not
Yeah,
doing
I'm not sure that 2 business
so.
days is reasonable, but I see where you're talking about now.
And there are, I mean, this might be outliers, and I only think of this because of my day job, but there are instances when forensics are involved and determination of death determines murder charges or not, and that sort of thing. But that's, I think that exception, that type of exception is accounted for.
Well, there are also people that work 1 week on and 1 week off. You know, if you hit your off week, you're not going to be around.
Any other discussion of this?
So both Dr. Trescott and Yanling have their hands up. So I will unmute Yanling first. Yanling, are you there? Okay, I'll go ahead and unmute Dr. Trescott then.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
This kind of information is important to get to the frontline staff. As a family doc who's had to fill these out, there are some, you know, you get out of your residency or you get out of medical school and all of a sudden you have these things to fill out and very little legal training. This would be a really good thing to have an article about in our newsletter about what are the rules for this once we've decided on it. To get it to the people who actually do these would be helpful.
Christine?
One thing that happens in our facility too is the provider is asked to sign the death certificate, and they've called me and said, how do I do that? I need to do this electronically, and I don't know how to register for this, and I don't know how to even be allowed to do it. And I went round and round and round and round and round to try to help them figure that out. So that might be another piece of education that we could give some of our providers. And they really wanted to get it done, and it was, of course, Friday at 4 o'clock. And she's calling me going, I don't know what to do about this. So it always happens that Friday at 4, right, Alden? So
Absolutely.
yeah. So I stayed and tried my best to help her sort that out, calling trauma, calling this one, calling that one. So I think some education on that would be helpful as well.
Any other comments?
Well, Scott has his hand up, and then Yanling put her question
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
box. So Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, Dr. Blake, that's a great idea to do in education, and maybe we need to look at the implications of this because there's actually a statute in Washington that that the cause of death in the birth certificate is the legally valid cause of death, and that causes a lot of legal wrangling, not just in medical malpractice, but in criminal cases and in health insurance dispute or life insurance disputes. And I think it could be worth spending some time on this, even if not this go around, maybe for the next one.
I don't see the chat either. Sorry, not sure why.
So Yanling's question is there a requirement that the doctor who fills out a death certificate must be the patient's physician?
Does anyone know? I mean, obviously you could be on call and you're covering for someone else.
It
does not.
I don't know why it has to be.
There's
No.
no requirement,
It can be any physician.
especially if there's a forensics.
Well,
Yeah,
you also,
that's how this hospitalist got caught at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. Was asked
you also have,
to death certificate. Yeah. Sorry, Alden.
You also have situations in which someone leaves the medical staff and doesn't fill something out, and there's no way to get hold of them. So it would be a bad idea to say it has to be and then it's just done by whoever the chief of staff or whoever the hospital designates.
And there could be real conflicts of interest when it's the surgeon completing the certificate whose patient died on the table.
Yeah, but we have to do that. I mean, we do have to do that.
Yeah.
Any other comments, suggestions? Do we
There's
have a
none in
motion?
the chat.
Oh,
Sorry.
there's one. Okay.
There's none in the chat. No,
Oh,
sorry.
none. Okay, good. How about a motion to approve it as is? Alden, second. We'll take a vote. All in favor of that? Anyone opposed? No? Okay. Great. That's all the policy things I see, Mike. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Wonderful. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you in the morning. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.